Hey guys, this is DFD, aka Dark Frozen Depths, back with another Kamihime project video. Now, this one is going to be a new raid event, but I'm guessing with the same characters, because that's another version of Yatagarasu I'm looking at on the screen right now. For some of you that don't know, Yatagarasu was another raid event we had before, but she was fire-based. No, she was, it was an advent, and she was fire-based. Sorry about that. But, apparently they're making another version of her, and it's not going to be the first time because there's other ones we'll get later down the line. But she actually had some pretty decent firearm weapons. It was like a an SSR gun that can break limit. Unfortunately, I don't know how many more of those are going to appear, but new event means new stuff, so we're going to take a look and see if it's worth it, especially considering the fact that with raid events, the SSR weapon does not final break. So we'll see about that. But as per usual, raid events means you can go into other people's raids or even get help for your own. So it doesn't matter whether you start them or if you join in somebody else's, you have a fairly good chance of getting the entire list done, even if you started, say, just a day before the event or even during the event. So you can go in, do what you can do on there, and just get your stuff, basically. Also, I do have to point out that honestly, there's been a bit of a leeching issue, considering that there's been a lot of permanent raids that have been failing and whatnot, due to the fact that those are raids that are harder than what you'll find in an event. So that's something that is a problem. You don't have to worry about it here though, because with event raids they're a lot easier, even easier than the ultimate raids, I would say, the ultimate catastrophes. So there's that. But for those of you that do want to just jump in and randomly hit something and then leave, there's a good chance you'll still win the raid anyway. But it's really not something you should get used to, because when you're strong enough to actually fight this stuff, you probably should fight it. It goes faster, it guarantees stuff dies, and that you can still get your stuff. But anyways, there's 3 different levels of raids for this event. Standard is the really weak one, and usually doesn't involve the boss character in question, but sometimes it does. Either way, it's something that you could easily get to the point where you can do it on your own. So there's that. And even then, you can still grind for the divine souls, which is the blue soul item drops that appear from raids. That's how you get the that's how you get one of the reward lists. Technically 2, because you get rank points as well. Expert, you're still getting the same blue souls, it's just harder, and that's where you're likely going to fight Yatagarasu. There's been a few cases where you don't fight the event boss, and it's a different one. But you need items from standard in order to open up expert raids. So if you want to start your own, you have to grind standard. And if you want to open your own Ragnarok raids, you have to grind expert for those materials. And Ragnarok's the one where most people probably won't bother to soul it themselves unless they're trying to get some more tickets. Like if you want to do the mission. So that's something I have to point out. But Ragnarok is the only way to get the devil souls, which is the red ones. You don't need as many of them as the blue ones if you're trying to fully complete the list. But if you are trying to get just the SSR stuff, you do need more of the red ones and the blue. So there's that. I will go over the basics of the list on a further point, because there's different points where people generally stop. But the SSR Adon is Yatagarasu. The SSR weapon looks like a bow by the name of it, so we'll see. There's a lot of wind bows, so it just makes it even easier to get the wind bow grid. I just don't know if it's worth it just yet, because we haven't seen the actual stuff in there. Speaking of which, actual stuff, apparently we are fighting Yatagarasu on standard. She'll have 850,000 HP. 3 turns before she'll do her overdrive or her burst, which is the official name of it. But in normal mode, her burst will deal a lot of wind damage to one character, one person off your team, and she's able to stack a triple attack increase. It's the same thing when she's raging, only it can her raging move will hit everybody instead of just one. So it's looking like she's really going to try and boost her combo rate. And then on top of that too, her trigger happens when she has a fourth of her HP remaining and she's not in stun. Or I think she probably is in stun for that one. But it looks at things, it may or may not work when she's in stun. They usually don't. But when she has 1/4 of her HP left, which off the top of my head is 215,000, she'll deal a large hit again to somebody, and then also boost up her triple attack again. Well, no, it's in exchange for all of her buffs, actually, from what it's saying, so I'm guessing the more of them she has, the more that trigger's going to hit you. So that's something to know. So that's an interesting mechanic, if you ask me. Actually building up buffs and then consuming them to do a high power hit. That's how Hercules used to be before they changed it so she doesn't lose her buffs when she does her first ability. So generally, the dangerous part of the fight is the fact that she's stacking triple attack. Now, I'm not sure if you can remove this or not, but at the same time, you don't really have to worry about it too much since it's standard, because the damage is a lot lower. Only the really weaker players will have to worry about how dangerous it can possibly get on that level, so there's that. However, it's looking like it's going to be the same mechanics on all the fights, so that's where you're going to eventually have to pay attention. In Expert, she's got 7,200,000 HP, and instead of 3 turns before she bursts, she'll do 2. On top of that, the trigger now happens a little earlier at 30% of her HP left or less. So there's that. And yeah, it does say you can delete the buff, so there's that. That's something to know. Okay. And then Ragnarok is the same thing, only she has like roughly 3 times the HP at 21 million. So that's the general thing about this fight. They basically just said, okay, same tactics, only she hits harder and has more health. So yeah. So generally, you'll probably want to deal with that triple attack buff by getting somebody that can remove buffs off your enemy. But if you don't have it, of course, they say Chaos Magic is a thing, and that comes from Cassiopeia. She's a B rank soul. Sorry about that. I'm still used to the old things, but she is a B rank soul, and she's fairly easy to get. In fact, I do believe you can get Vivian for free, and possibly the other one that Cassiopeia needs, because at least Vivian doesn't take any soul points to learn, so it isn't going to take you too long to get Cassiopeia if you really need Chaos Magic. But generally, like I said, raid events are pretty easy because a lot of people can just come in and do it, and there's a good handful of vets on the server too, so you'll likely see stuff die. But if you are trying to solo it, that's definitely going to be pretty dangerous, so keep that in mind, because they do force you to solo both Expert and Ragnarok if you want extra tickets. That's just it. And that's definitely going to be the most dangerous part of the fight, especially since it lasts for 12 turns, and she can burst like every 3. If she's in raging mode, it's every 2. So worst case scenario, she could have 6 stacks of that before she uses her trigger. So it's important you remove that. Plus, getting hit with triple attacks is kind of dangerous as well, because it does do a lot of damage to a Hime. So keep that in mind. Now, if you do care about having elemental advantage, fire is the way to go. If you don't care about it, just avoid using thunder. Now, as for the rewards, this is where I need to look at the list, because I don't remember this every video. But I know off the top of my head, you get all the SSR stuff for getting 50 blue souls and 55 red ones. Now, from what it says right here, you also can get all 22 gacha tickets from getting all 140 blue souls and 82 red. So that's 140 divine, 82 devil. This is the main reason why I tell people in so many other videos, do not trade tower or guild medals for tickets. We get so many from these raid events if you just grind them out, on top of getting them in other events sporadically and epic quests. This is the reason why I tell people that. I have to bring it up because we have a guild competition right now. Save your guild medals for nothing but the purple break limit items. If you're that hungry for gacha tickets, grind this event out and get 22 gacha tickets. On top of that, there is 2 Dragonic Eye Shards you can get from here for 200 blue souls and 90 red. If you get 225 blue souls and 95 red, you also get 3,000 magic jewels. Hey, guess what? That is 32 gacha pulls in this one event. You don't need to trade the guild or tower medals for anything but the purple break limit items. If you are not doing 5-digit medal trades for tower and guild medals, you are doing it wrong. I cannot stress it enough. Because, to be quite honest, as tempting as it is to get extra pulls, even if you're a free player at this point of the game, it is a waste. It truly is a waste. Plus, you're making it harder to get an item that is hard to begin with, because you are either getting very good scores in those events, or you're getting 20 Draconic Eyes. And hey, guess what? They only gave you like 1/10 of that in this event. So, I wouldn't even say 1/10. That's 1/100th, actually. Because two fragments is a fifth of an eye. You need 20 of those. So yeah, you got like 1% progress towards one of those break limit items if you don't worry about the tower medals and guild medals. So you want to save them up. I cannot stress it enough. Now, normally that doesn't have anything to do with these events, but at the same time, we do have a guild competition going on alongside this raid event. So I have to point that out. Get your gacha tickets here. Save your medals for the break limit item. But if you are looking to get every single thing off the list, you need 250 blue souls and 100 red. Also, gotta point out that you do need 3 million participation points to get all 300 gacha tickets from that list. So there's that. It is special gacha tickets. It is not a bad idea to grind those out, because you can get a lot more access to some items that can help you build up stuff. You can get EXP spears, you can get half elixirs. Most of the veterans try to grind out for energy seeds too, because you will start using a lot more of them later down the line. You can get gems, but at some point you probably won't really need gems. You can get they give you soul points in this list too. And in the gacha itself, you'll start getting even more of those things, along with possibly extra copies of the SSR stuff, +1 materials, so keep that in mind too. And even extra magic jewels. You can get extra jewels from grinding out those tickets. I have personally gotten a lot of them from some of these events, and that's just getting the bare minimum a few times, which is the 50 and 55. But when I really go into these events, I start getting good 600-700 magic jewels basically, because I start racking up ticket after ticket after ticket, because I'm capable of clearing a lot of stuff on my own. It really speeds up how many MVPs and participation points you can get. So there's that. But speaking of the SSR stuff, by the looks of things, it could be worth it in some cases. It depends on how strong you are, basically. Me personally, I probably will need Yatagarasu because I'm using a weaker Idolin right now, which is almost Thea. Because I don't have 100% Idolin, and I did not take the time to go get enough copies of Bethor, I should say. I do have a copy of her now. But it says when attribute attack power. So that means elemental attack. So this should be elemental attack 40%, and then even if it's still character attack, which will be assault, it still gives a burst gauge increase amount of 20%. What that means is for every 10 burst gauge you gain, you get another 2. That is very powerful actually, because in this game, bursts tend to be priority, and filling them up faster is definitely welcome if it's worthwhile. Accessories will not be worthwhile because they're like 1% or so. This is definitely worthwhile because it's 20%. If you get 2 of these, you get almost half. You almost get half of a fill rate for free. So there's that. Plus her base attack power is 2,000. That alone makes her pretty worth it to keep. On top of that, summoning her up to your triple attack. Stuff like this is why I say wind is a very fast element. But definitely worth it whether you set her as a main or a sub. So personally, I say you should get her. And if you do happen to get extra copies of her, it's not a bad idea to try and get her a duplicate, because if you can max limit break a duplicate, then that's 2 uses of that triple attack to really speed up your burst. So that's not a bad idea either. But at least by my experiences, it's like a 0.1% chance to get a duplicate SSR. So I don't know for sure what the rate is for that, but you're going to have to grind out a lot of extra tickets if you want to try and get another set of her. But at least keep the 1 guaranteed set and go from there. If you don't keep her, then you're selling her for Idolin orbs either way, so you're still going to want her to at least appear. As for the weapon, again, it's a bow, and there's a lot of bows out there, so this could help you fill some slots. It is still large assault with a decent amount of attack power. It doesn't final break, so you're probably going to replace it later on. But this does help, and if for some reason you do stick it on your soul as their weapon instead of getting the soul weapon like most people, it will boost everybody's wind attacks, so could be a strategy. I don't know. It depends on if you happen to use it. I can't see that happening though. Again, soul weapons are a thing. Unless you have a 4th tier soul, I don't see that. And when I mean 4th tier, I mean S rank, because say for instance you have I forgot who uses a bow among some of these characters, but say for instance later down the line you got S rank Hercules, which will be a different name. They could use a bow on wind because of the simple fact that even if you try to use a rank weapon, it won't work for the S rank soul, I do believe. So it wouldn't give the elemental attack and all that. So this would be an alternative. That's the only time I could see somebody doing it. That's what I'm just trying to explain. It's not too many cases where somebody will end up using it. Mainly just when you're starting off or when you just don't have the S-class soul weapon. But Wind does have access to a lot of bows, so this does make it a little bit easier to get a bow grid if you're really trying to. Speaking of which, fire bow, not so much. Not so much. Bows for fire are really horrible. Don't worry about this SR weapon. I wouldn't worry too much about the other SR weapons as well, because of the fact that there's still some ones that are worth grinding for, should you happen to get them. And Bethor comes to mind, the Wind Guardian, because she gives a weapon that basically gives 2 forms of assault and 1 form of defender, all in 1 weapon. She has a lot of weapons that actually give defender, if I recall. So, that said, you don't really need to get the SR weapons at all. Not a single one of them. Maybe the Wind Hammer to make a placeholder, but you still don't really need it because you'll probably find other hammers. If you're even able to make a hammer grid right now anyways. But As for the missions, I said this before in a previous video, but with the elemental one where you have to use a specific element, that never changes anytime the same event pops up. Like, what I mean by that is every time there's a wind event that calls for an elemental mission, it's always going to be darkness. That is something I never noticed until somebody pointed out, and again, I gotta thank them for that one. But apparently they want you to solo Ragnarok on your own darkness element, and expert is always with R Kamihime or less. This is why I constantly tell people to not worry if they don't have enough SSR to make teams. SSR teams are strong, but there's stuff like this where you can't even use them, so that's a thing. So if you're, and then there's a pretty good, there's a nice amount of R Kamihime among fire, so you should probably be able to do this mission. That's just my opinion. But both of these missions just give raid tickets, so unless you're worried about extra raid tickets, which honestly you should be, this is basically what you have to do. And of course the other missions are just clearing other people's raids or clearing your own in order to get extra stuff every day. But again, a lot of this stuff is worth it, so I would definitely grind out this event. And then on top of that too, pulling extra copies of the Yadoan definitely would help you. If you can max limit break it a second time, definitely go for that. That's why I'd say hold on to your extra copies of her until the event ends, and then just sell off what can't go all the way up to level 100. So there's that, because if you max break limit it into itself, you still get more orbs. For example, you get 150 orbs per SSR copy from an event. So say you got her 1 star away from max, you're still getting 600 for selling it like that. So there's that. So just keep break limiting copies into each other of her during the event, and if you didn't finish one off, then sell it. The ones you did finish off to get all her stars all the way up to level 100 and all that, keep those. As long as you get all 4 stars on her. As for the weapon, depends on if you're making a bow grid or not. If you're making a bow grid, you probably should hold on to this. If not, then don't worry about it. SSR weapons do make very good skill leveling fodder, so you'll want it either way, basically. But anyways, that's all for this event. More is going to come soon because, of course, I record these things. I tend to try and solo the Ragnarok fights. I don't know if my Darkness team can handle this or not. They're on the weaker side, but I've been getting them some more stuff, and then, of course, Aratron is a pushover for me at this point. My light team is that strong. I can solo Aratron easily, so I can get her weapons. So if need be, I can still try to quickly grind some more weapons and get that. But yeah, I probably should be able to handle this with Darkness. But I will try to do the solo videos. I will try to avoid using light in those solo videos because of the simple fact that my light is overpowered and can easily do it. I'm going to try and show off where some of my other teams are at. But anyways, that's all for this. And I do have to point this one thing out. This is just a side note, but there's been a few cases where somebody said, "Oh, I've been playing this game since it came out for 3 years. I should have much better teams than what I got." Technically, that's true, but people do have to remember that I cannot just sit back and constantly play this game 24/7 or whatnot. Even some tried to argue doing a few hours a day, you could still could have been a lot further, but keep in mind that I make a lot of content. I record videos, I make my own game, I play, like, God knows how many Nutaku games at this point. I've played so many of them, and I'm still keeping a few of them into the rotation. I'm tossing in PlayStation 4 games in the mix, and pretty soon, I will be starting up school again, because I'm going to college next month. My schedule is going to be swamped. So that's the main reason why it seems like I'm so unbalanced, if anybody's wondering. Now, does that mean I still could have been a little bit stronger? Yeah, definitely. Does it ultimately matter? Right now, no. Because of the simple fact that I still have a light team that can do all the grinding for the other stuff. They'll catch up. So, there's that. That's something I have to point out. That's the main reason. That's the main strategy everybody should be taking anyways, because of the fact that it's recommended that you get one element, maybe two, depends on what you're using, to get strong enough to do the bulk of the grinding. Because when you try to focus on all 6 elements at first, you get stronger a lot slower. That does not mean ignore stuff. Like, say you're using fire and thunder. That does not mean ignore the wind stuff from this event. What that means is focus a lot more on those 2 elements, but still get stuff as you go along. That's what that basically means. I have to point that out. That's something that's confused a few people before, and in other cases, I can't deny it's caused an elitism outlook too, because this game still has a lot of elitism type people, but ignore those type of people basically, because you don't have to go that hard. But anyways, my main thing is that I make content based on what's in the events, what's in the game. I pretty much try to pass on this info to other players in case they are interested, especially since I'm practically the only one doing it. That's the big thing I have to stress out about all that. I'm literally the only YouTube creator for this stuff. So if anybody really does truly have a problem with how I do things or how my teams are, they can always step up and record videos. Until then, I honestly have to politely tell those people to just worry about themselves. If you're that worried about other players possibly being misled, just double check my videos. I'm always welcome to being corrected. Just don't go too far with it. And if you do have your own things to add into the videos, that's what the comment section's for. I'll even like and upvote comments that do fit if you double check previous videos. Like, there's some that pointed out something that I made a mistake on a few times, and I've liked their comments to get it higher up so everybody else knows. I've even went back and corrected my own comments a few times too. I'm not perfect, nobody is. But that's all I'm saying. That's something I have to point out here, because that's, again, this isn't all my efforts, this is more community based. And this isn't even our community in general. This is also Japanese community as well. That's why I'm looking at this, because there is an English wiki. They are getting their stuff together. At the same time, they don't have all the info from what Japan has, which is why I tend to look at this for the event videos, because this is already written down. They've already combed through the event entirely, so there's that too. But again, basically a community effort. If anybody's got anything they want to add or stuff they found out and whatnot, again, that's what the comment section's for. Just keep it civilized and it's perfectly fine. If it starts turning into arguments or flame wars, that's where I usually step in. That's even the same case with my Discord. I just can't do that on the official Discord. But anyways, this video's going on long enough. Again, grind out the wind stuff because it is pretty good. Even the bow, if you're making a bow grid. If not, get the bow anyways, just so you can use it as fodder for other weapons. Because SSR fodder does give you a lot of skill experience. But, anyways, that's all for this. More of this stuff we're going to come soon, because these two, I'm definitely going to try and solo. I know my fire team can handle the R mission. They are my second strongest. Darkness is the one I'm a little worried about, but they still should be able to handle Ragnarok. I got a good wide range of dark SSR, which even includes a healer. But anyways, that's all for this. More of this will come soon, and take care.